It did drop down to probably at least 30 degrees last night, and this morning it's cool. We did finish this area right here. My husband helped me with some of it after he finished taking off the wood chips that he made from taking down our rain tree, which we still have the stump in the ground, and his brother's going to come in with a bigger saw to take that down. But we finished all of this, and it had a lot of grass and weeds coming up in it, especially in this area right here. But we got it done. It looks good. I feel good about it, but I really wanted to be able to do it and this west fence row, which of course we did not. It's just miserably ugly right now, all these old things in here that need to be taken out, but we'll get to it. I just always want it all done right away, and that can't always happen. We did get a little bit. I see I missed one bag taking it off, which may be a good thing anyway, the last globe. But we'll want to get all this soon. But we did get some rain. I don't think we got very much. I'm going to look right here at our little rain gauge and see if it was even enough. Well, look, it raised it up a little. Looks like it may be just a tiny bit over 1/10 of an inch, so that's a good thing. Maybe things were wet enough they didn't freeze. I certainly hope that's the case, because we have fruit trees in bloom, and the redbud trees are budded out big, and I would sure hate for them to get nipped in the bud and we don't get to see their glorious color for spring. Oh, and I'll just go right on over here because this is the stump of the rain tree, which is all that's left now. So this is our redbud tree. I don't know if you can see that it is just so budded out, but it's not opened up totally yet. So hopefully it will still get a chance to do that and look glorious for spring. It's Nancy's garden squall. I just finished pulling up some weeds and grass that I missed earlier in this little spot that was full of weeds and grass. But we just got through with our little cold snap. We had 3 days where at least 2, maybe all 3 of them, went down below 32 degrees at night, at least, sometimes part of the day also. So I was really worried that it would take out our forsythia bushes. But right now they're still pretty and yellow. They may turn brown. I'm hoping they don't. My husband and I have a friend we want to come out. He's been mentioning come out and see the garden, so I'm hoping we could have him out here when the redbuds are in full bloom, and hopefully the forsythias are still yellow. I was going to show you that our redbud tree, it was just budded out, just these beautiful purple buds, but they have not yet opened yet. When they open, it's so pretty, you know, because I'm sure everybody knows what the redbuds look like here in Oklahoma. Of course, that's our state tree, so I think everybody should have a redbud tree. So we're in the back right now. My husband was going to show me that I need to dig up some plants to transplant them from where they were under the rain tree that we're taking down. These are little blue hyacinths that welcome spring too. They welcome them much better when you get all that old ugly debris out of there. Oh, and look right here. My husband just pointed this out. I didn't even see it, but we have a tulip that's beginning to open up. And while we're on the way to the rain tree, I wanted to stop. This is, it actually was a strawberry pyramid, but my strawberries, of course, went away quickly after I put this vinca vine in there, which takes over everything. And I may take this out at some point, but right now it's just in full bloom practically, and it's so pretty. It makes me want to just keep it here, but it always outgrows its bounds every spring, and I need to even more often than that. But every spring, like you can see the rim of that right there, and it comes out way around the rim, and I have to get that out of there or it would just keep going and take over everything. I don't really want that. So here's what's left of our rain tree, just the stump and this horrendous mess that we've made, and destroyed half of my, well, maybe not half, but a bunch of my little garden decor that I didn't want destroyed. But I guess I'll have to let it go. So, and also while we're out here, I wanted to show you the pussy willow tree. So there's our pussy willow tree. I meant to get it before the frost came too, because I wasn't sure what it would do to it, but it seems to have done okay. Of course, it may just be seeming that way right now, and it just hasn't caught up with it yet. But anyway, I got to get it on here for you. I saw a squirrel over there. Can you see it? I don't know. He's probably going to run from us. But he's over there. Right there. Right there. Oh, I'm in my at my seed box now, and look at this. I was sure all these little teeny tiny seedlings would be gone after that freezing cold we had, but some of them, a lot of them are still there. I'm not sure what they even are at this point, but I did plant some fall flowers out here, are the ones that have to have the cold, but even when they come up I didn't know if they would survive the cold, but some of them have, which is great. And so did these two little poppies that I have here. I should have planted some more of those, but I didn't get around to it. And there's another tiny little flowering quincy. This one has never gotten very big, and I don't know if it's just the size it's supposed to be, or it's a miniature, or if it's because it's under this maple tree. Maple trees put out roots that are close to the ground, and they have a tendency to choke everything else out. As a matter of fact, even my pots that I put up under here, whenever I pick them up, a lot of them are literally, the root of the maple tree has grown up into the, let me see if I can pull one of them up here for you just to show you what sometimes happens. It may not be in this one. Nope, that one's pulling right up. But sometimes the ones that are on the ground, the maple tree will actually grow right up through the middle root of that. Well, I'm not finding any that I can actually show you right now. These are not got a root coming up through them, but sometimes that maple tree will actually go out and find the drain hole in these pots and literally just grow right up through the drain hole. So I have to keep a watch on that too at some point. And I was showing you, oh, look at this. These beautiful hostas just kept going. I put some fresh soil over these because the roots had grown up and they didn't have soil covering all of them. And I put several of them, and I just figured these would just stop until after this cold spell, but they actually didn't. They just kept going and going. So we've got little hosta nubbins coming up everywhere. It won't be long till they'll unfurl and just become a pretty hosta. We'll have this all filled up with hostas. I was going to show you this one right here. This is the one that the snails almost totally took out. And you can see it's coming back up, so I'm so happy about that, and hopefully I'll be able to keep those snails away enough that I won't lose any of my hostas. And also I was going to say it was coffee and coffee grounds. I did get some not root, but snail and slug killer and put out here, but I really couldn't tell that it did anything until I got dry coffee grounds and put all out here, and I couldn't tell that it did anything. So I tried just the liquid coffee, and finally I tried the two together just because we make a pot of coffee at least on Sunday mornings and have a lot left. So I had just started pouring that on this, and the two together, somehow it's what diverted the snails. We helped our oldest daughter move, and this morning she called me and said she would like to come and help me a few days to clean out the garden for, I guess, as payback. So that's kind of exciting. Get to visit with her some. So there's my gardener out there, and I pay him the exact same thing that I pay myself, which is zero, of course. But he's taken that trumpet vine down for me today. This is some of the questions I have about plants and what they know. What does a plant know that I would like answered? Is like this right here. See that weed growing right up there? You know what? That might be a plant. I'm going to leave that till I make sure. But I have noticed that weeds will find themselves a plant and grow right up next to it, and they have faked me out until they put on a seed head, and I see the seed head, and then I know to pull that thing up from there. But by then it's already got some seeds down, and I think they're planning their way to live. But actually, from what I hear or from what I read, plants do not. They do not think like we think, but they do communicate. They do communicate to each other if a disease or a bug or some type of predator is after them. They tell the nearby plants some way through some communication, and the other plants put up some type of chemicals or something in their system that actually helps them to survive. So I thought that was amazing. One other question that I always wonder about is do they know when, in the fall, everything is so beautiful. It's got its full growth on it, and the plants are shining like I always call it the fall finale. But do they know that imminent freeze is coming, and they'll be gone until next season, or gone until they put up a little seed that they can survive from? I often wonder that, if they know. I did read that they do not feel pain the way we do, so therefore it's not going to bother them when the freeze comes and kills them off. But those are some of the things that I often wonder about plants when I'm out here. Hi, it's Nancy with Garden Scroll, and yesterday I was going to clean out my west fence, but I had to transplant a few things that were under the rain tree that now the sun is beating on them, and they need some shade. So I transplanted, three little plants over here, and then I noticed that my Corydalis, this little one right here, which is kind of wilty right now, that it had made a little start of its own, so I put it up here in this pot, and then the other one is still right down here, which doesn't look like much right now, but if it does anything like it did last year, it's going to look really pretty just a little bit later on. This is one of the plants that I moved, and it has not bloomed yet, but this is a Lenten rose, and these that are blooming here. Of course, I've showed them to you before, but I did go ahead and clean this area out since I've Yeah, and also you might notice my fingernails there. I had some, well, fairly long fingernails for me until I started working in the garden, and then those disappeared. But I guess it's worth it. Sometimes I wonder, but then I love being out here too. So, and then my husband helped me when we got to the west fence. I did not get it totally cleaned out. I'm going to go back over it again today. But we got a lot of the big stuff out, and I got the pots that I had along the side of the fence and the hanging pots. I got those cleaned out, so we'll be ready soon, and I'm anxious to get to the nurseries and see all the pretty flowers and be able to start new pots and put in new things in the garden. So the garden is getting cleaned out. I showed you that we got this little part here done, and then remember when we went across over here and this big pretty peony or peony, however you say that, was just a little red nubbin in the ground, and now the stalks are red, but it's mostly green at the top. And then look, there's another tulip gonna bloom for me, and so I showed you already also that we did clean this area out. There's just so much to do that, you know, it just takes such a long time. My husband kind of tightened this pole up for me a little bit. It's still leaning forward quite a bit, and there's a birdhouse right up here that I've got to put back on. There was a birdhouse there that I do want to put back on. I've got to fix it up a little bit. This is called this is a double daffodil. I think it might be called a summer daffodil, but it smells wonderful, and isn't that a pretty little rosette? I would like to get out here and dig up some of my daylilies and give some to my mother. This is another peony that's full of bloom. And then yesterday, the one I haven't yet shown you is this one that we cleaned out. I'm going to take these little volunteers that I certainly don't want on this side of the little path, which it's more of a border than a path. It's not quite wide enough to be called a path, but it works. But I'm going to put it in those bare spots up in there. And this other is also, it's called Keys of Heaven, has a pretty little red on it, and I could not get anything growing here, and I noticed my Keys of Heaven was proliferating everywhere, so I thought that would be a good place for it, and it has proved to be, other than I do still need to get some up there in those little bare spots and let it fill the rest of the way out. Sedum is coming back wonderfully in this pot, and we did honestly clean out this whole west fence row. But I must say that I took a break today. It's a little bit cooler. This fell off. I'll have to put that back on, but that's a cute little decor thing too. But I got all the pots cleaned out. I did that one day, and then the next day we came out and cleaned out all of this whole row that you see right down here. I'm glad we did. I really thought it wouldn't take me as long as it did, but there was so much coming up in here. And then this scabiosa or pincushion flower, which still, this one, look at that, it's just piling up on top of itself. But I took another one of those and broke it apart, which I will do this one also. I think I might give some of those to my mother too. That I planted them, transplanted them right here. So all these little ones will probably fill out and be like those. And then all of these right here are all the pincushion flower. And then this is the Shasta daisy that also needs dividing and put in these bare spots along the way so that it'll make it fuller and prettier and have less room for the grass and weeds to grow. That was such a chore to get that out of there yesterday. I was very tired last night, just extremely tired, and I did clip off the old dead stuff from my clematis. This one is the Hagley hybrid clematis. When it blooms, it's a beautiful soft lavender color. There's a tiny little clematis right there, and I've forgotten which one it is, and I doubt if I can tell. I did leave it on here, but I doubt I can tell which one it is. Let's see if I can. Clematis Innocent Blush is what that one is. So I haven't seen it yet, but it'll be beautiful. I haven't seen a clematis that's not beautiful. Lots of larkspur growing up here. Like all of that, look, that you see is larkspur. And then it's just scattered through the irises. This is a little red miniature rose, and then the clematis you see growing up that trellis is the President, which is some people call it purple. I usually call it navy blue. It's just, to me, it's just a beautiful deep dark blue. And along with our cooler weather, there are some chances of rain, which I always hope we get the rains. The garden, I'm sure it's always hoping we get the rains too. I did notice that I have several little peonies coming up that I'm quite sure are coming up from seed. Now this one, I think that I planted this peony. There you can tell there's little nubbins coming up. There's the red one, and then down at the bottom there's the little nubbins. So it's been there for a while. But let me backtrack some now, because I wanted to show you, if I can find them. When I was cleaning them up, it was easy to see. And there's another little clematis vine that'll come up this pole right here and hopefully be very pretty. I kind of put some of my rose over there on that too, which maybe it will grow up there. But now that I was going to show them to you, I can't find the little seedlings of it. That's another one that is coming back, not from seed, but from a plant that I purchased. That's a pretty peony too. They're all so pretty, I think, because they're just so gigantic. I love the large flowered plants. I just love them all, period. Though this is another little clematis right here that I guess I don't know if I bet I had it gonna put it up this little pole right here, because I see I've got a string on there. I thought I might have wanted it up this tomato cage, which they are pretty on there, but I guess I really do prefer an obelisk. Well, I can't believe I can't find any of these now. And last night, of course, or yesterday, actually it was practically last night before I ended up finishing there, but I'm not seeing the little starts. There's another peony, and right in front of it there is this weed that I didn't get. There's another weed that I didn't get. The bad part about missing a weed is that it'll put down a seed and you'll miss more than one weed. There's another weed right there, which I don't know if I can get that with my hands. Okay, I'm going to get back to looking at what I'm filming here, hopefully. My little daffodils are nodding their heads down. They're just about to curl up. Okay, here is now this is of course one that's coming back there, and there's the nubbins, but this one, this little tiny one here, there's no nubbins around it. It's just a little seed, and here's two more back here. I just hadn't gone on down the row far enough to find them, and there's one right there. So I'm going to leave them a little while and see. There's another one back there growing up in this, and I can't remember right at the moment what this is either, but I vaguely do. It's almost coming, but it's not, so I guess I'll just and this is a little dianthus right here. I'm going to leave those little peonies for a while though, and just see if they will become a large pretty plant. I'm sure I can find someone in my family that would want those. This one, where there's a lot of those little pink ones that you see, are off the peach tree, but all the little nubbins that are coming up are from peony or peony. I call them peonies, that's what I've heard them called. But it's coming back, and it's the Sarah Bernhardt pink. It's very pretty. And I once told you this year that I thought this was a tulip, and I was right. It's a pretty little, but actually I thought it was a red tulip, and it looks to me like it's a pretty yellow tulip. Here's another little clematis with a peony behind it. And my golden carya is leafing out and flowering. So it just almost makes you feel like, oh wow, you've just about got it all cleaned out. But then you just look on the other side and oh my, no, we do not have it anywhere near all cleaned out. All this has to be cleaned out. You see the old dead iris leaves in there, and then all of this. These are the old peony stalks from last year, and I need to trim down the old dead part of my clematis, because it's coming up, and I don't want to not have it ready to look gorgeous. So all of this still needs to be done. I'm going to go ahead and walk down here, down this row, not to show you all these old ugly dead stalks, but maybe I will show you that. Just my neighbor's dogs are going to tell you hi. She has some pretty dogs. Look at this one right here. Isn't he a pretty dog? So anyway, and there's a peony coming up right in amongst that old dead one. I've got to get this out of here. Once it gets started, I just can't seem to get it out soon enough, and yet I just did the very best I could, because it's just so much. There's no way you could just hurry it up and get it all done. I had to get groceries today, and I just had to take a break, but this little one came in yesterday, so I'm hoping it will do well. When you order through the mail, this one little company that I ordered from, they do have really good prices, but this one, all the leaves were off of it except that one, and you can tell it's not going to make it either. But it did have a really good root system, so I was lucky there. And got to get this whole side cleaned out all the way to the other side of the storage building still all needs to be cleaned out. And when I said the other day, and my husband, all this mess out here, but actually I was going to mention, I got sidetracked, that he's already cleared all of this out. He chopped it up into pieces that our neighbor could use for their wood burning stove, and so he's already got it to him. So he has been as busy or busier than I have. So even though I'm proud of him, except for the fact that he also did all this, like that is broken. All my little purses, I had 2 little purses out here, they accidentally got broken. That's the other little purse, the one that you see down there in pieces. But it'll have to be alright. This little tabletop here will need to be replaced, and so there's a lot that still needs to be done, but hopefully we'll get it all done. Oh, I was going to point out this little flowering almond. It's always a pretty thing in the spring, and then of course it just turns green for the rest of the season, but other things will be blooming. And right now, when we need some color, all the pretty little, the fruit trees and this little flowering almond and things like that bloom in the spring are always a welcome sight. Get all this area cleaned out. This little clematis is growing up with all the rough stuff in it too, and I want to get that taken care of. I noticed my grasses, like that one right there, and then I have one right down there. Let's see if I can close in on it a little bit. And then another one right here in front of me. These all still need to be trimmed back. Everything in this area still needs to be trimmed back. But I did get these. I got these ready to go, and they're looking good. I trimmed this down. This is a sweet pea vine, and it was all the way up this trellis, but the top of it, of course, is just so dry stubble from last year. There's another little clematis right there, which I don't think I want it necessarily on this tomato cage, but rather I want to get it started up this pole. I think that would be pretty with a pretty clematis blooming up that pole. This is a bleeding heart. If I haven't already given my mother a piece of that, I definitely would like to do that too. And there's another one over here somewhere, or should be, if this other stuff that I do need to thin out. I certainly hope it has not taken it out. I don't see it right now, but I hope it comes back. And I did show you that I did clean this area out already too, which was it was pretty hard to clean out too. And then I had to put some of these, transplant them out from under what used to be the rain tree. But we got that done, and it's looking good. My husband also put some a rebar up this pole, and he's thinking that's going to hold it up, which I hope he's right, but I've done several things that I thought might hold. It did not hold, but hopefully it will. a place that I haven't cleaned out. But look at these pretty little white daffodils. Aren't those little charmers? Another reason I like to get this all cleaned out as soon as I can is, of course, because the weeds are so prolifically going ahead and making their seed heads. So I wish I could get them all before they make seed heads, and put down for more to clean up for next year. But I do have this weed control paper fabric down, and I love it because as many weeds and grasses I have to pull up, if this wasn't here, I would never get it finished. I would just never get it finished. Even though I know when you plant something, you do cut a hole in this, and then of course weeds and grass are going to come up from where your hole was. Anywhere they can get the sunlight, they'll be. But it's just made it a lot better, a lot less work. So I like it a lot. Not only do I need to clean out this part right here, I would love to just dig up a bunch of this. I want some of it. It makes a pretty little mum in the fall, but I want some of it up from here. It's just covering up my faucet, and this is the one I actually use. Oh look, this will soon, it's all green now, and pretty soon it will be putting out little white. This is a bridal spirea. It will be full of bloom. This one right here is I'll probably pronounce it wrong, but Wilgula bush, and this one is red. There's one other one right back behind it, over there by where I pointed out. This is a bleeding heart. If you go up and you see that little one, that little plant there, it's the pink Wilgula. Right behind me here is my lilac bush, and I really planned on getting some like my neighbors because they smell so wonderful. They're just the old-fashioned, which is what I wanted, but I saw this and it said Sensation Lilac, so that's, I thought was like hers, but it's really not. It's still pretty. I hope that freeze did not get it. It looks like it's still going to come out. I certainly hope it does. But it's actually a darker, much darker lilac color, and it's edged with white, so it really does set it off, and it's beautiful. I hope I get to show you that in full bloom. The cleanup of the garden is another thing that's similar to housework, in that I always think of the old show Bewitched with Elizabeth Montgomery, because I wish I could just twinkle my nose and all this would be clean, which is always what I wish about housework. But of course that doesn't happen. It's all got to be taken care of by hand, and it's all takes such a long time to do. But we'll eventually get it there. At least we have before, and with God's help, I know we'll do it again. What is never noticed when it's done, and always noticed when it's left undone, that would be housekeeping, and also the garden work, because when you come out here and it's just all beautiful, you just notice the beauty. But when you see all this stuff that looks like this, all I can think of is that it needs to be done. It just needs to be clipped back, and it would look so much prettier. So I know that's going to happen, Lord willing, one of these days, and I am going to keep plodding along, even though I didn't do it today. I just had other things that I wanted to get done, plus I really was so tired I couldn't sleep. Oh, look at this precious little thing. I loved this little boy. cherub, and he had his hands holding this little dove, but it's gone by the wayside. So and here's a big old pretty bloom. I wanted to show you this last year and it got froze out, but I hope it makes it this year. It looks like pink crepe paper when it blooms. Looks like silk. I can't remember what I planted in here. What is this little flower? I really can't remember. I was thinking it was a swirling butterflies, which there is one coming up there, and I do want it here because it looks so pretty and frilly, just coming up on little wiry stems and dancing around above her head. But there's something else in there that I put there and can't remember what it is, and I'm still not thinking of it even though it's blooming. Usually I can figure it out by then, but I'm kind of stumped. But it's pretty, so hopefully I'll want it there. Actually, it might be a good thing that age slows us down a bit, because all the years before I stayed so busy, and it still needs to be that I'm that busy, but I'm not. But well, actually I am, but no, not as busy as I was, because I would not stop. But now I have to stop on occasion. But it's time to enjoy the garden a little bit instead of just work in it all the time. I want to sit back and enjoy a little bit. This little hole right here, I haven't filled it up, but I'm going to plant that Major Wheeler honeysuckle vine here where we had, look, my husband did get this all out of here except for the stump part of it, and we'll be putting some root kill on it. I'm sure we'll have to do it more than once to get rid of it. So I wanted to move that little clematis. I hope it makes it. They don't really like to be moved. Right here in front of these little cherubs, there's a coral bells or heuchera, however you say that, but it's not very big yet, but I hope it will just really do well there. I had one there once before, and this one is supposed to have a red flower, and that red, the tiny little red that are insignificant flowers on the heuchera, but they looked so good there, even though they were tiny, because of these tiny little cherubs right behind them. They just really showed off. This is another one of the flowering almond bushes beginning to bloom. As soon as we get everything all cleaned out, I will be, and I already am, so anxious to get to filling up my pots, because they begin to really look bare, and because the nurseries are filled with beautiful annuals and other flowers too, but mostly annuals that I'll want to put in the pots. It looks like this is my cherry tree, and it looks as if that freeze didn't get it at all, thank the Lord. And I hope we don't get another freeze, because it just looks good. And also, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and pin up to the red bud, which has not opened, but those buds are prolific on there. So when it does, I'm quite sure it's going to be very pretty. One of my favorite little things is this candy tuft. I just love it, and I want a whole border of it. I know it doesn't bloom. It does bloom quite a while, probably about 3 weeks, but it doesn't stay this color. But most perennials don't last just a whole long time, and it's just so pretty, and the color is there when you need it most, because once the flowers begin to bloom, a lot of them will be blooming. But for the early spring, this is just, to me, it's a perfect thing. If I could just get get enough to get them all started, and they would last for me instead of dying out in between and making a big gap. But one day, it's another little place that I want to get something started right up here in this nook. I think just some low ground cover would be fine there. And this is called lamium, and it's a yellow. I believe this one is. Some are purple, some are white, but I'm quite sure this one is a pretty little yellow. And I think I'll just see if I can't just extend it on up this little area right here. And one day it'll fill this whole area out and be a low grower. This is like right by our carport, so we'll probably want something fairly low growing here. Then I have some irises down this way, and that's that monkey grass that I'm not sure I want to keep there, but I may. I'll just have to kind of wait and make that decision as I go. You can see I actually try to kill some of it out anyway. It's so thick. This pretty little foliage right here and right here. These are surprise lilies. They look like they're going to be a spring bulb coming up, and you wonder what they are, but they're actually, this will all go away without making a bulb or anything at all. And yet in the fall it will put up a stalk, just a bare stalk with no foliage on it, and it will be called the magic lilies or surprise lilies or naked ladies because it has no foliage. And I'm going to come around here to the front of the house for just a little bit and show you, because these are more pots that I'll be anxious to fill, but right now there's beginning some of them to fill out. This is catmint in this, and it's very pretty, has little blue flowers on it that stay almost all season. For perennial, that's kind of a wonder. And then my grass is coming up good in this little pot. Matter of fact, probably too good. I'll probably need to take some of that and put somewhere else, so I can still see my little girl. Love this little girl. And my sister-in-law painted that for me. I just love the way she painted it. This is some more of that lamium. And I wanted to come over here because, well, look at this little creeping Jenny around the edge. It's coming back. But also, this is where I put some of the Herca or coral bells that had made little starts on top of it. So I clipped them off, and they have a little bit of a root, not much, but I think that's going to be pretty there if it will make it there in that pot. It's got the pretty little golden yellow, and then this one has got purple in it. And the forsythias are still looking beautiful. So glad that freeze didn't take them away yet. They go soon enough all on their own. But I think they also last about 3 weeks before they turn green. And I wanted to point out that this ground cover right here is actually the moneywood or creeping Jenny. And what I did was I had some in a pot, maybe this little pot right here, because I still have some in there, and it just trailed over the side and dropped down on the ground. It just took off. It just naturalized itself. It just looks like it grew wild there. So pretty. Oh, there's another pretty little daffodil I haven't got on here because it bent over, but isn't that beautiful? My plan was to take a break from getting down on my knees and just rolling around because I couldn't get on my knees, on my rump and my side and everything else. But I just got sore from all that. But I was going to take a break and paint this, but it's threatening rain, which I already said, always want that rain. But I didn't get this done, but I would love to paint everything that has the fairy garden stuff in it. I got a pale green paint, but I want to do that and paint the pots as well as the little stands that they're on. And these two stands are like identical, so I think that's going to help them to just really fit together a lot better than they do just sitting there the way they do now. But I want to get that done, hopefully, if I can, before we start planting pots and all the other stuff. Of course, the stuff that I ordered online or in the catalogs through the mail, I will definitely want to go ahead and plant those as soon as they come in. And I do have another flowering almond here in the front. It just says spring. Look at the difference in this regular size daffodil. And then right down beside it there, the little miniature tete-a-tete daffodils. They're both beautiful. And I love this pretty little light green bush right here. This color in the garden is almost like a light, like the whites are.